approval of the.
Apologies.
Noting we have a quorum, I'd like to call this meeting to order again. And noting that we have an agenda in front of us, has anyone got any amendments or changes they'd like to make to this, or is this satisfactory as it's printed? Seeing no desires for a change, then we'll move ahead with brief announcements by authority members. I think everyone would like to hear from Mr. Jaquith.
I have no announcements that I know of.
Can we catch you at 9 o'clock tonight?
No, you cannot.
Anybody else? All right, public comment. Members of the public on the call or in the room have anything to say? We'd be happy to entertain you, or you entertain us. Do we have anybody raising their hand on the call?
Nobody online has raised their hand.
Very good. Then we'll move right ahead. The consent agenda is attached to your printed agenda. Have any concerns or quibbles about the consent agenda? We move to approve that.
So,
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Consent agenda is approved. We have the February meeting minutes. Fortunately, I was not able to finish them. Started with that. Well, that would eliminate the possibility of any substantive comments. There are none so far. Then we will look forward to the February minutes at your earliest convenience. And that brings us to old business. The body 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last month, I made a brief mention of a discovery that was brought to us by way of Senator Deed's office that there may have been a missed passing in the body 21 project. As we looked at the situation, we saw that there may have been some passings that were meant to be included, were included in the rescope and amendments to the agreement that was executed in the spring of last year. And we brought that to Brightspeed and asked them to give us an audit of the 1,430 locations that were agreed to. We had a brief meeting on Wednesday to on Tuesday to discuss the audit that had not yet been prepared. And then we discussed it in full on Thursday this morning. And what we know is that
When you say we,
I'm sorry, myself, DHCD, and Brightspeed, representatives from those two bodies and myself, met with Brightspeed to discuss their audit, which demonstrated that there were as many as 74 locations that are possibly not going to be able to be added to this or included in this project. Some of those are too far away from existing plants, and some of them, it may be a capacity issue that fiber might be nearby, but there might not be enough fiber to serve. We are going to discuss this further. They're going to give me an update after they discuss with the local engineering staff by next week. And at that point, we can start to discuss what actions may be taken. As a result of the work to identify that there was an issue, we did pause closeout and reimbursement activities. The total number does add up to about 5% of the agreed upon passings. DHCD has set a precedent, and it's expressed a willingness to consider prorating a reduction in passings. And that is as far as we got in terms of discussing this matter, pending their further investigation.
any questions?
Yeah. So DHC, did they raise the idea of prorating this? Where'd that come from?
DHC prorated their portion during the 2023-2024 rescope. So when we went from a list that originally was 1,685 passings to 1,466 passings, and then when Brightspeed declined to build to 29 of those passings, DHCD prorated their portion by those 29 passings, so reducing it total by about $45,000.
And does DHC doing that have any impact on the expectation that we would prorate our payment?
That is any discussion about what to do with our opinions is up for other discussion.
Okay, so DHCD has no say in that.
So,
Okay,
And we've not paid any.
as a result of delays in getting us invoices and then us pausing all reimbursement activity because of this discovery, no funds, either DHC or ABAS funds, have been expended. That's actually something that I meant to amend in our financial statement, because I did show that expenditure as having been spent. It has not been spent.
okay,
Well,
yeah,
I think when we have sort of the better assessment of this
yeah,
from our partner in this process, we might involve a closed meeting of this group to contemplate strategies and considerations.
I think that's a good idea.
But I'm not sure we're there now. Probably the next meeting, if it comes up, would be the time to do that.
Another question. It doesn't stray into that territory, I don't think. Of the 74 locations identified as not being served, you tossed the word possibly in there, but I think the possibly was about they might remain unserved, but we feel good about that number of 74 being correct.
There were several of the locations that were not showing up as built, that were errors that we've seen previously with the FCC data, where an address is differently structured and that results in a mismatch that shows it as unbuilt, or other situations where the address was included but with a legacy location. And so it didn't show as that address, but it showed as something else. So a lot of the concern was alleviated by the systems updates to
Okay.
update the addresses. There's a subset of locations that a systems update should be possible. However, they need to make sure that there's capacity to serve those locations.
One last question. Would you be willing to share with me a map, ideally as a GIS file, of these unserved locations? Because I'd like to look more closely at where they are.
I only received the list
I'll take that.
today,
I'll back myself.
and I would like the opportunity to just take a pass on
Sure,
that
sure,
data
sure.
myself before I distribute it, just so that way I can make sure that we have the most current data
Okay.
for those locations.
Okay. Thanks. I'd like just in my own head to go from this being an abstract concept to being like, well, I know where that house is. I know
Wrap
where
your,
that is.
yeah, wrap your arms around it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
This began because Senator Dean's office received a request from someone who was not served, but now we have 74 locations that are not served, and have we heard from
Potentially 74.
potentially 74 locations, heard from these locations.
And we have not heard from any of these locations that I'm aware of. I do want to just get ahead on Mr. Senator Deed's, the location that, the gentleman that reached out to Senator Deed's office. They actually fell out of the Body 21 project. And the misunderstanding was entirely my fault. I, in the course of developing all of these maps, set them as they were originally assigned to Body 23. And then when Body 23 did not succeed, I did not reintroduce them into the Body 21 rescope. That's entirely my mistake. I have, however, since confirmed that they're going to be included in the Body 22 build. So that address is actually taken care of. I actually have it for first thing tomorrow morning to contact that resident and let them know.
Great. When you send the list, send it also.
Absolutely.
thank you.
Any questions on Body 2021? So I look forward to seeing, some more information come forth on this, and we'll take this up at our next meeting. Body 2022 update.
Construction work continues throughout this project area. At the last stakeholder meeting, there were a number of updates to the schedule, which we'll get to in a minute. Firefly is continuing to work through easement issues. They are reaching a point where if they cannot get an easement issued, then that location will not be able to be built on. That is something obviously that we don't want to see happen, because those locations would then not have service. However, there's very little that we have to compel anyone, except for the opportunity to get connected. Dominion is continuing its middle mile work, and I will show you the update on that, and it is truly fantastic. And Appalachian Power will soon be moving into the Keene area to complete their make ready, which has been the piece that is required for us to get the Keene area fully built out. Firefly would like me to remind any resident that if they're uncertain where their project falls or their timeline, they should go to the link provided, fireflyva.com/partners-albemarle, where they can look at an overall map as well as individual project area maps that are granular enough for people to look to the street level and see their locations.
See if your house is in.
But also to recommend at this stage that they can register at register.fireflyva.com. And at that location, when they pre-register, it will tell them which project area they should be included.
Tracy, how big is this issue in terms of how many
It is
people are potentially affected?
less than 50 locations. Certainly less than 50 locations. I don't have an exact number. It varies depending on which segment you're looking
I just wanted to get a scale. Are we talking thousands or
Yeah.
dozens?
Yeah,
Okay.
This is much smaller. Key updates here on this slide. St. John Road is currently seeing connections and is actually almost done with connections, which I think is something that my predecessor Mike would be thrilled about because it's a location that he's been trying to get connected for a long time. Beaver Dam Road is actually not quite in connections. They are currently finishing splicing and will be done with that very soon. A couple of the winter 2024-2025 locations have slipped into spring, but they're expected to be turned over from Dominion very, very soon.
And we should probably expect a couple of the spring locations to slide over into summer. Because until Dominion runs the next 50 miles of fiber in the county, there's going to be a lot of places they can't even get to if they try to. And we always focus in on the Albemarle slice of this project, but if you go to the website, you see all the other counties. They're hooking up people in lots of places. We just happen to be one of them.
Yeah, so absolutely. The update from February shows an increase in the miles spliced as well as miles of underground fiber placement. Excuse me. And there's also been an uptick in the miles of fiber design. So I think we're going to be seeing this accelerate throughout the spring and into the summertime. And then the Dominion update shows an impressive increase of about 35 miles of fiber construction completed and 35% of the splicing completed. So we are making good headway.
It will not go as fast as we wanted to. Any questions about body 2022?
I have a question back a slide. Am I correct in, I guess it's back another slide, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There was a TBD for the very last, for maybe it was Stony Point Easton and
Turkey
Turkey Sags, but that's sorted out now.
Turkey Sag was the only one, and I think that there was just a decision making about what components Dominion and what components Firefly was going to handle. And I believe that that question has been resolved, and so they can give a timeline on it.
Okay, thank you. Those are my neighbors who asked me, like, what's up? So now what? So, appreciate it.
Anything else on body 22?
Oh, good. Move ahead, the AAO.
I actually don't have an update, certainly no slides to share. The focus of the office over the last several months has been one, to transition into my leadership, and that has involved a lot. And I'm grateful for the many years that Mike did this, where we're wearing multiple hats, because all I have to do is wear this hat, and it's certainly a lot of work. So I want to just offer my gratitude to the authority for the opportunity to serve the county in this way, and to the county leadership for electing to transition me into this role. But yeah, that is my update for this meeting.
Okay. Uneasy lies the head.
And that's so that brings us to new business is the BEAD update. The application window for the first round of BEAD has closed. DHCD shared that there were 2 applicants, Brightspeed and Comcast, that submitted applications for Albemarle. 100% of ZCTAs in Albemarle County are covered by existing applications. A list of any locations that were not included in a potential round 1 award should be released in the coming weeks.
I'm sorry, I don't remember what is the CTA.
Zip code tabulation area. I barely remembered that myself, but I knew it was related to zip codes. That point that a list of any locations that are not included in the potential round 1 award is related to the reality that DHCD is planning multiple BEAD rounds to ensure that all locations get reached. And it's also worth noting that a body 2025 round is planned for later this year with details to follow.
We were expecting to find where any awards might not be covering shortly.
And I think that that's part of preparation both for subsequent BEAD rounds, but also potentially for body 2025.
I have had a number of my neighbors contact me about Evan Feynman going, okay, does this mean that we're not going to give fiber? I try to explain to him that the money's coming from a different place, that, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Any sense of how the BEAD funds might be entangled?
There was an extensive discussion with with leadership from DHCD that made clear that while the administration would like to review all of these programs, there has not been a formal pause. And indeed, the guidance that they're receiving from NTIA is to continue business as usual, with the expectation that in the event that there are any changes that are needed to be made, that will be handled post-award. That is what DHCD is operating, the principle that DHCD is operating under. And so that's as far as I can speak about that. The funding ultimately does have to be approved by NTIA. So it is notable, there's not yet an NTIA director. That nomination, I believe, is forthcoming. I'm sorry, that hearing is forthcoming to install a new director. So there may be delays in the post-award process at the state level. I'm sorry, at the federal level. But there is no current indication that the funding will not come.
Thank you, Governor Northam, for putting so much money on the table before we had to worry about this. All right, sir. What else do we have? Anything else in new business? No. That's all. Are there any other matters we should take up? Excellent. I mean, that's could be a new record. Sorry to call you here for that length of time, but we did have to do the 2021 thing. Then I would move with the adjourn, unless you would like to say. Hearing no objection. We stand adjourned.
Thank you all.
Andy, thank you very much.
My pleasure, especially when it's 20 minutes.
That,
You set the new standard.
That's right, that's right.